Welcome to Click for IB Biology. We're in the topic of neural signaling, and in this particular video we're going to be looking at interferences within synapses of two particular substances, one being cocaine and the other one the pesticides, the neonicotinoids. There's a presentation, a blank presentation PDF of this presentation linked in down in the description below. Download that, annotate that with your own notes. It'll make it quicker. The quiz, 10 questions with answers, and that'll help you to forge connections and understand and remember this better. Let's take a look at how cocaine and the pesticides affect synapses. The best way to think about this, I believe, is to think about the introduction of cocaine into these synaptic clefts here. Remember, these synaptic clefts are somewhere in the region of 20 to 40 nanometers, and so the molecules of cocaine will diffuse into these gaps here, and what they do interferes with the action of dopamine. This is just one example. There are other transmitter substances that cocaine interferes with, but this is the one I'm going to use as my example. And so up here we have the presynaptic structure. There's the axons here. The synaptic structure is here. And here's our transmitter substance, dopamine, in the vesicles. And so the nerve impulse comes along, causes the calcium ions to flood in, as you'll recall, which causes the vesicles to merge with the membrane. The transmitter substance goes into the synaptic cleft. It diffuses across the cleft rapidly and engages with the dopamine receptors in the postsynaptic membrane. So what does cocaine do? Well, cocaine blocks the recycling of dopamine at the presynaptic membrane. So in the presynaptic membrane, there are transporter molecules for dopamine, and normally, having been broken down by the enzyme MOA, dopamine is broken down. You can see that here. It engages with the transporter and is transported across the membrane to the presynaptic membrane and resynthesized into its vesicles. And of course, this means that the stimulation caused by dopamine is no longer there. However, cocaine blocks the transporter protein, DAT, so DAT. Don't worry about what DAT stands for, but it blocks the DAT transporter protein, blocking the recycling of dopamine, which means that the dopamine stays in the synaptic cleft and it continues to stimulate the postsynaptic membrane to threshold, and so it has this stimulant effect on the central nervous system. Of course, cocaine is known as a stimulant, and so it achieves that by blocking the recycling of dopamine, and it stays there in the synaptic cleft. The neonicotinoids are pesticides designed to kill off insects, and the way that they work is a contrast with cocaine, which is presynaptic. This is the postsynaptic membrane, and so the nerve axon is here. Here's the synapse. There's the transmission across here of the neurotransmitter to the postsynaptic membrane with its receptors. So in this case, we're dealing with these structures here in the postsynaptic membrane. And so the pesticide, the neonicotinoids, are here, and they have engaged with the transporter protein in the postsynaptic membrane structure. These particular transporters are the ones for acetylcholine, so these are NACHR, so that's the acetylcholine receptor. So the nicotinoids engage with the receptor molecule here, and the effect of this is to make it constantly open, and they bind very, very strongly to these receptor molecules, and the acetylcholine, it doesn't disengage. And so there's a continuous flow of sodium through the pore to the inside of the cell here, and it continually is reaching threshold. And so once more, we have an example of over-stimulation of the central nervous system, and this, for insects, is a lethal effect. So the introduction of unusual substances, cocaine has a presynaptic influence, and the neonicotinoids, they have a postsynaptic effect, but on different parts of the membrane structure. Okay, so there's the link to the next video, in which we'll be looking at how sensory nerves work, a chance to subscribe to the channel, and of course, a summarized playlist link for you as well.